I think that's the furthest I've gotten. I've only gotten as far as yelling. I
can't imagine you yelling, dude.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I can't
even imagine you going, "Come and get it." When you ask AI, let's say that you're just a guy asking AI, "Why is my wife yelling at me?"
Oh, yeah.
It'll answer you with things like, "Oh, you maybe because you need to listen more, you need to be more sensitive, you have to have more empathy."
Maybe because you didn't do the dish, like you said you would.
Yeah, like good advice for men to like be more receptive. But then if you're a female asking it, "Why is my husband yelling at me?" It'll like give you a number for like a hotline to like call for help.
Oh my god, that's some.
What do you guys think about that?
That's weird.
I think it makes perfect sense.
I think it makes perfect sense too.
I think it makes sense, but also, isn't it like equal, like the harassment on both sides? Like theoretically,
yeah.
and like the data shows that men are also just as equally harassed and bombarded in that way, just as women are.
Yeah, but we call those guys bitches. Yeah, I'm not saying it's like ultra justified. I'm just saying I think it makes sense in the context of like our society. It's so funny when guys get abused by their wives that they don't report it.
It's because it's so funny.
It's so funny.
A lot of the
can't
times
stop
it's
laughing.
like psychological though too.
And then the way there's no evidence and the women do it so smart. They'll be like, "Oops, you burned your whole arm because I boiled water and poured it on the side of you. That's an accident. Oops."
Burned your whole arm?
Like, it'd be funny if you ask AI.
There's an AI for that.
You ask AI for women and it's like, here's a hotline for like domestic abuse. You ask AI for guys and it's like, there's a bunch of just like therapists that you can contact. You know what I mean?
Dude, I mean, if you actually look up a bunch of domestic calls in general, it's all dudes that are screaming, but they're all actually crazy ass dudes.
That's why I think like the statistics back it up.
Yeah, I think
It's more you're at risk if you're a woman versus
like a more general like, hey, you can do the hotline and maybe you can like work on whatever. But for the guys, same thing. Like work on yourself, but here's a hotline in case you're getting like whatever. How come it doesn't do it for both?
Because I think inherently it's looking at actual stats and it knows that that's bullshit.
Or it's just scared that like women are gonna fucking be like, this AI is gaslighting me.
Or AI knows smarter dudes won't be like that. And more childish and dangerous dudes are the ones yelling and being more aggressive. Therefore, here is the.
I don't know. I've heard of some pretty psycho girls.
Oh yeah.
Who are yelling, aggressive, manipulative.
It's just like statistically, I think it's more of those dudes.
Yeah, sure.
Because when I look up body cam every time I eat food at home, police body cam, it's all domestic. Domestic calls are all usually crazy dudes.
Yeah.
Gang related.
That's usually who you see out in the wild too.
Yeah. And then look at the streets.
Like beating up their girlfriends and screaming and shit. Like when a girl's like yelling at her boyfriend or whatever, it's usually because he fucked up and didn't rent the car on the trip that he said he would, and he fucked up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait, you didn't bring that. How can you not bring that?
Yeah.
And then he's like a child being fucking berated,
It's kind of scary too is like if you guys have ever seen in public a couple like fight, usually when it's like a girl angry with a guy, she's like yelling to embarrass him and get attention.
Yeah.
But then if you've ever seen a guy quietly strong arm his like wife, that shit's creepy as fuck. Because he's not trying to show
But he's aware of it.
Yeah,
so that means he has like the plans.
Right. Like, dude, when they get home, like that's like scary.
That's a scary.
And then if a guy is like yelling publicly loud, like people are gonna intervene.
Exactly.
Right,
yeah.
right.
But you don't hardly see that very much. You don't really
I don't know.
see.
I don't have much confidence in people to intervene these days.
That's true. I mean, I honestly wouldn't for
Right?
domestic.
Who would? Most people wouldn't. Like that's I think about that like. If I'm walking down the street and like something were to happen and I'm looking at who's around me, I'm like, none of these motherfuckers are gonna do anything. I'm kind of like,
yeah,
they wouldn't do anything at the yelling, but they'd be aware because the second it goes beyond that, something has to happen.
Yeah, sure, but like I think physically most people aren't getting involved.
But you know why I'm heartless?
I've been wondering this actually.
9 out of 10 times. The girls have so much Stockholm syndrome that they'll turn on you.
Yeah. That's what I'm scared of too. Yeah.
For trying to help.
Yeah.
But also,
I'm scared of getting charges pressed by both of them.
Yeah, but if you fuck this guy up too, for trying to set him straight,
Yeah.
he's gonna go home and fuck her up even harder because now he feels like a little bitch that you fucked him up.
Yeah, because you're like, it's like you're taking it in on your own like
So the
methods
best
to
thing
fix it.
is to tell on them. That's the man thing to do.
Honestly, you do have to rat people out when
Yeah.
that shit's happening because it's not your place to like.
The smart dudes actually record everything.
Yeah, but they're gonna be like, why didn't you do anything? Why did you just stand there and record?
You record with your friend's phone.
No, you record. Like you have
Post on your friend's account.
Yeah.
But check, didn't you have something like that happen, Ryan? One time, there was a girl screaming and shit.
That I was dating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened.
But then, luckily we were there.
Yeah, she tried to say that I hit her, but then people were watching. And
I
they were
was
like,
there. I was right outside. I watched everything happen. Ryan was just trying to calm him down, and two random people were like, "Yo, what the hell's going on?" to Ryan, I think, and I was just like, "Oh hell no, this is what happened." They're like, "Oh shit," and they all walked away.
It was my ex. She got super drunk at a party, and then she was just like freaking out on me, and then she was like stumbling around and shit, and then I think she actually had the memory of like she told people that I hit her.
Whoa.
Women who lie about that
Yeah.
stuff is.
But I think she actually believed it because like she just remembers falling to the ground and she thought that I like did that. And I was like, what?
That's another dangerous thing too,
Yeah,
is
blood on your
people that are so
I
delusional.
was looking at her like this. But then like a year later she like apologized. It was like over a year. She was like, oh shit, I was just
She was conscious.
After you bounce back from your career.
yeah, no,
Right.
it didn't.
The timing.
Luckily, like Subin was saying, there were enough people to have seen it that they were just like, "What?" Like she said, that's what she said.
That's another layer that people don't talk about is like, so there are the malicious type that will falsify shit, right? But there's also the delusional types that are so fucking nuts that they have their own set of memories.
They'll testify in court that like,
They-
this,
And they believe. They believe. And I mean, both genders, there's delusional motherfuckers, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think people tend to believe females.
Believe all women.
yeah, which I think is fair to a degree, just because like so many of them are telling the truth, and most people are like, yeah, right.
But a lot of the times, like, look at what happened to Jimmy. If he didn't have the receipts with
Yeah, you gotta have
talking
receipts,
to
you gotta have
those-
witnesses. Yeah, you need more shit.
He almost got completely canceled just based off of an accusation
Dude, that's lame,
Yeah.
man. That's
that
lame.
that he was harassing and not, letting them go away from the interview and all this stuff. And it's like, how many of those things happen where people are clout chasing or they're just so delusional that they start rewriting their own what happened,
Yeah.
and then they twist it and they go, you know what, I think I was harassed.
I think when it comes to like being under the influence too, it's really difficult.
Yeah, how do you remember stuff if
Yeah.
you're like fucked up?
Yeah, it's really hard, especially when you're the sober person and you're trying to tell that person like,
Right.
no, it's fine.
But in most cases though, when a guy's yelling in a relationship, it kind of leads to a physical place.
Like when he's like,
When he's losing his shit, not like an argument. Like, I think guys can come off scarier like during an argument if he's like yelling at you. But then like there's a difference between a guy that's like frustrated and he's trying to get a point across versus you're gonna die right now.
do you think it's a hint if like a guy's breaking stuff?
Yeah.
I think that's a good precursor.
Or punching the wall.
Actually, well, to me, from personal experience,
Yeah.
like that's always like the last straw, and that's what's like in the sense. I'm not saying I'm drunk, but like that'll like kind of sober the situation for me, because when you physically go somewhere else, it's because you know you're not gonna physically go to the person. So you're like, I need something else, and then when it happens and you break something, you're like, I've gone too far now.
You ever do that thing where you're
yeah.
looking at the thing that you're still angry? You pick up your computer, like, not this. You're like, I want to, but not this.
I agree with you on that one. I punched a couple holes, but
Punched a pillow?
too.
How about that?
no,
No, it has to be-
walls and doors.
But I think the key is that it helps you realize what's happening.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Actually,
hell yeah.
There are dudes that don't even reach that, and
first and only time I put like a hole in a wall, I remember afterwards, like I wasn't even mad anymore at the situation. I was more upset, like, man, now I gotta pay for the wall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
It just takes you out of that. And
Yeah, that's while I'm repairing the wall. I'm like, fucking idiot. I'm like, dude, what is this?
I did that at my ex's house when I was 17, at her family's like house. When we were arguing, and I had to buy the patch and like like the first time you do it, you just feel so fucking
Yeah.
embarrassed. And her dad was just like watching me patch the hole.
That's like the learning curve that you kind of like need for yourself too.
Today's video is brought to you by Rocket Money. Can you guys name every single thing you're subscribed to? Like this streaming service, this VPN thing, this whatever thing, this like entertainment thing that you have and bought every month and it's like bleeding away. If you're like 74% of people out there, you don't know every single one. So good thing with Rocket Money, they can help you find all of this. Pinpoint which ones you don't want, I want to keep this, or maybe even renegotiate. It's really, really good for all of that.
Rocket Money is your personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings.
Rocket Money has over 5 million users, and it has saved a total of over 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members from up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features.
So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/offtherecord. That's rocketmoney.com/offtherecord. rocketmoney.com/offtherecord.
I had an ex who took the picture frame and it was glass. It was covered in glass, and he just smashed it over his knee, and all the glass fell on the carpet. And I was just like, and I was the one cleaning it up.
Oh, that's bad.
And I was like, this is a wrap.
I thought
we're done here.
I was hoping that you were gonna say he like went like this and his head came through.
I would be like, that shit's impressive.
I'm serious.
Just back and forth.
Like a cartoon.
Dude, that's so impressive.
Yeah, I think that's the key. It's like because I was so embarrassed, I was like, I don't want to be doing stupid shit like this. Yeah.
Well, it just shows like a lack of like emotional maturity at that point. You're like,
It's not often, but anytime an argument escalates so far that I get to the point of yelling, like yelling is literally the line at which like I'll like yell and then I'll walk away from the argument, because then it's like because then you acknowledge, you're like, oh shit, it's emotional, it's not like a conversation anymore.
I think that's the furthest I've gotten. I've only gotten as far as yelling. I
can't imagine you yelling, dude.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I can't
can't even imagine you going, come and get it. I can't even imagine that. Like if you worked at the Pike or something, or
Dude, I rarely yell, man. Even in arguments, like even if because I recognize that I get heated, and I'm like, fuck, I don't need to raise my voice, because I grew up with watching my parents argue, and so I know what not to do from that. And so when I had my relationships, every time we argue, I feel myself wanting to yell, and then I go, hey, let me just go for a walk. Like I need to walk it off.
So I have a super hot take, right? And I want to know. I want to know what your guys' opinion is on this, because for me, and this is from a female's perspective, I can't call her out, but we have a lot of conversations on this because it's just fascinating, the perspective. It's very like taboo. And then she goes, I think some bitches do need to get smacked up.
I kind of agree with that.
See, and coming from a female, I think it's crazy.
Honestly, I kind of agree with it,
right?
because there's some women who they're putting their hands on people again and again and again and again, to the point where it's just like
the provocation.
There's no consequences for her actions.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like beat her to death, but like I think like a slap across the face might help.
See, I heard the same thing. So it's not like losing control, but like restraining the bitch.
Restraining.
Like a 1950s, get a hold of yourself, bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there like a good number ratio? It's like 10 slaps to 1. It's like you're just getting hit like 10 times, and you're just
like an exchange rate.
I mean,
okay. Yeah. The currency in this climate.
Forex.
So like for me,
it is a hot take though, because I'm on the fence of it.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was a non-negotiable. I thought you just never ever put a hand
But
on a
you're
woman.
defending yourself is different, because what if they had a fucking weapon? Yeah.
Well, it's not even toward that. Like her argument was that some bitches need to get checked because
Dude, that's crazy.
They're out of control. They're like maybe mentally abusive, or they're just like pushing this guy to his limits. And then she goes like,
I'll push back on my agreement with you, because I'm pushing back on myself. Even if you were to do that with somebody like that, because it's like last
Right.
case scenario, right?
Yeah.
I still don't think it will get through to her.
Oh.
I see. It's like a kid, like when because you know how kids get like smacked by their parents because they have no clue that.
Oh, she needs help. Like she needs like years and years and years of like
Church.
Because kids are really emotional too, and if you tell them with words, they're not gonna listen until you go boop, and then go, oh, I need to stop.
So here's another interesting take, right? That coming from a woman's perspective, that was shocking to me. Okay. So she said that maybe certain women wouldn't have left this man if he just smacked her once for some respect.
Whoa, that's interesting.
And
How's
so,
that again?
So for example, right? There are people that we know close to us where they've left, they've cheated, and she goes, yeah, that guy's been beaten down to the point where she does not respect him anymore. He doesn't put his foot down.
and he just needs to leave.
He's a passive person. Yeah,
Passive.
he's
I don't
passive.
like that.
And then she's like, once.
But that girl's like yelling down at him, slapping him, and cheating on him.
Yeah, but that's toxic too. Though.
She's the problem.
Yeah, that's toxic.
Why are you still there? Just
So the thing is, why would you want to have to smack someone into respecting you? That's not.
Yeah, that's almost like finding the dysfunction and like maintaining it.
Yeah. You're not progressing.
Like he don't need to respect toxic. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
At
an
that point, you have
interesting
to leave.
observation, though.
He
I
won't
understand
know.
the concept, but like that's coming from a like you're literally being like, okay, let me put my mind in like evil real quick. It's like
Right, but it's like if you could time travel or something, and then or like you go through a dimension where you didn't break up with someone, and they're like, why? What was different?
Yeah, it's like,
oh,
why
you
would
hit me in the
wanna
face.
stay? Why would you want to stay?
It's like what? That's why we worked out because I socked you.
right, exactly. How does
That's
that
crazy.
Those guys don't end up knowing that though. That's why they're in that position of
But
getting
in the
beat
best
up.
case scenario, they don't ever need to find that out either, because they're just with the right person who's not fucking like treating them like shit.
Exactly.
Right? But if we're talking about going back in time stuff, that's the same as being like, oh, dude, if I went back in time and I socked her, we'd be together. It's like, well, if I went back in time and I like won the lottery, she'd still want to be with me too.
We're talking about those couples that fight all the time and they stay together forever.
Oh,
like,
dude, I know some
You know
of
what
those.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're doing
Things that are bad to each other, and then they thrive on it.
But that's because they like that.
exactly.
Yeah, that would be the couple.
Then it's got to be that thing in the movie where it's like he finally slaps back. There's a moment of tension, and then they just start making out.
Fucking making up.
Yeah,
It's like restraining her and then all ends up in a doggy style. All this. I don't.
I think it's more so that, where the guy's not manning up to anything.
Yeah.
He's passive. He's not. And then she's just like at this point where she has no respect for him anymore as a man, and she's just like, I want you to stand up for yourself.
They just need to leave the relationship.
That's legit, because you should never resort to it, right? But then I'm like, I was trying to get into that headspace of like, where
Well, but some people are still living in that time where they haven't, adapted to the new shit.
You do end up meeting people that you're like, I'm not gonna hit you, but I know damn sure the next dude is probably not gonna take this.
Because
Yeah.
I, for me, it's like you should always control yourself and never hit anyone, right?
Right.
But her perspective was like, I think the perspective comes from her talking about her female family members that are ruthless toward guys. And she goes, and then she has good men in her family that are like getting pushed over by certain females.
Oh,
But
pushovers.
on the flip side, she understands it too. She's like, sometimes these bitches need to be restrained. And I'm all like, wow, that is such a hot take that I never really heard before.
It is strange.
Because it doesn't even enter my mind. It's a non-negotiable. You just don't hit women.
You don't, yeah. I mean that's an easy non-negotiable to keep because it
Just
just
don't hit
simplifies
anybody.
everything. Yeah.
Just don't hit anybody.
Right.
But
We
the
would like
nuance,
to,
I think the
violent.
nuance is that
Yeah.
have you ever seen these examples before of abusive women or women that are so like they provoke and poke to the point where it's like you're poking the bear too
that's
much.
also
Dude,
like,
the smack.
That's actually so common, more than we think, where you see these couples where the guy is so spineless and like defeated and doesn't even try. And he just
because of
lets
society,
anything happen
yeah.
to him, yeah.
Dude, in a perfect world, nobody wants to beat up anybody, but then that's not the world we live in. That's the crazy part, So what do you do?
Yeah, Steve was always talking about beating you up.
It's like war too. It's like nobody wants to fight, but you
Nobody
have
wants to fight.
Yeah,
And I did it publicly.
do it. Do it now.
Yeah, but Ken, some people
want
do want to go to war.
Yeah, exactly. In their own relationships.
And I said,
Which ethnicity are you talking about?
Japanese, you know.
No, you know, like when the war popped off, there's legit volunteers going.
Exactly. They want to fight.
The thrill just to be saying like, yeah, I went to fucking, you know what I mean? There's guys like that.
Now imagine that in a relationship, like they want to fight for each other in a weird way where they're hurting each other.
That's psychologically just so toxic.
There's a saying about some people can bring out the worst in you, right?
Yes.
And then some people will say, no, you should always be in charge of your own emotions, no matter how you feel, right? So when we talk about this, it's like you should never blame your partner for making you angry. You made yourself angry. But then her take on that was like, some bitches can push a man to his limits so hard that it brings out the worst in him. And that's the truth, because it's a two-way street, right? And I'm like, yeah. But he goes, it's not so much that worst is being taken, it's just his patience is tested to the point where other combinations and relationships won't test him to that point. And if it's not an ongoing behavioral trait that you see this person in for all relationships, then that was such a bad combination that it did push him to his limits.
It's like it's understanding the concept and knowing that like you can understand why doesn't make it right, but also I think there's accountability on both sides. His side for continuously allowing himself to be in a position to be pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed.
Yeah.
Like at this point you need to make a decision and take accountability for the fact that you have not made a decision.
Right,
leaving.
yeah.
And then for her side, it's like, I mean, yeah, what do you expect? Like, you're getting somebody to a point of just no return. There is going to be a cause and effect to the situation. Whether, you know, people are going to argue whether it's right or it's wrong, but it's the understanding of the situation. I think both need to be held accountable for the situation.
That makes sense. Like, stop showing up to the chopping block if that's all.
If that's
like,
all.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're being tested beyond your limit.
Correct.
Yeah.
So raise your hand if you think women should get beat.
Can you insert a clip of a time that Subin was going like this?
So raise your hand if you think women should get beat.
Hell yeah.